It's a pleasure to have you. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. The details now. Ghana is set to roll out clinical trials for 2 COVID-19 vaccines as it joins global efforts to gather more information on how to defeat the virus. About 1,500 volunteers will receive at least 1 full dose of the Russian-made Sputnik Light vaccine or the Sanofi vaccine in a space of 13 months already. Similar trials are being run in at least 8 other countries, including the USA, Russia, Egypt, and the UAE. But with the current global shortage of vaccines due to vaccine nationalism, Ghana's participation in the advanced clinical trials will better position it to access the jabs when they are ready. Team lead for the trials of the Sputnik Light in Ghana, Dr. Alberta Amu, addressing a national stakeholder conference a while ago.
Has 2 vectors, the adenovirus 5 and then 26. It's given in as a double shot.
Trying to work out that video for you, but this is basically about Ghana being set to roll out clinical trials for 2 vaccines, and this will position us in a better place when those vaccines are ready for distribution across the world. You may already know that our vaccination rollout plan has suffered some setback as a result of what's happening in India and their inability to receive the AstraZeneca vaccines as our health
The light, which we are testing, contains only the adenovirus 26. It is a single shot vaccine. And then are these trials part of the agenda for Ghana to produce vaccines? I think that is beyond us, the researchers. We will provide the data, and I think the ministry and then the industry should be looking at that. Adverse events. I said adverse events. I don't know if maybe I said it. I don't remember what exactly I said, but we're monitoring the adverse events from the day of vaccination to actively daily. Okay, I'll check it and then I'll change it. So from the day of vaccination to 21 days post-vaccination, that is the very active phase, daily phone calls and then field visits as well. Then from then on, it will be weekly visits. Studies. I think these are things we will take, and then we'll have discussions with sponsors to include pregnant women in the studies. Our communities on board. Yes, we have been talking to our communities. In fact, I've had a lot of people who brought me their names who would want to participate when we are ready. I think what has changed at the community level, at least for Dodoa, what has changed and brought support to vaccines, COVID vaccines especially, has been the Indian situation. People don't want us to get there, and because of that, there's more acceptance towards especially COVID vaccines now at the community level. So we are still engaging, we are engaging communities, we are engaging people at the community level, at times one-on-one. Most of the engagement now, we are doing it one-on-one because of the issue of vaccine hesitancy and a lot of the misinformation that has gone on, especially on social media. So we are not there yet, but we are working on it, and we know that it's improved far better than when we started with the COVID, even the COVID vaccine rollout. Dr.
There's already a set of protocols that the WHO has put together with various partners, and the goal is merely to develop vaccines against clinical disease at this point. There was a question about whether we will follow our participants if they receive other vaccines. Yes, we'll follow them up so long as the participant receives at least one dose of the vaccine. So we'll continue following them up for safety. And I think that I'll also add on the pregnant woman issue. I think this is an important topic to discuss. We have already started thinking about that, and when we get close to it, we'll let you all know about it. Thank you.
You know, the pregnancy issue is a very complicated issue. And I don't think anybody is going to do that. But
those are excerpts of a stakeholder engagement on Ghana's preparedness to conduct some clinical trials on 2 separate vaccines. It's underway here in Accra. My colleague Manuel Cransing hopefully will join us later with more on this. Meanwhile, Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Isiedu Bekwe, says there is no evidence of the Delta variant in Ghana. He says the sure way to contain the threat of the new variant is to stick to protocols. Speaking on the Super Morning Show, Dr. Bekwe said measures put in place are adequate to deal with such threats.
The Delta that we are talking about is at the airport. For now, we don't have evidence of Delta in the community. But what we will do is, or what we have been doing, is that we assume that persons who are coming from these areas be having a different strain. So we now assume that they are contacts who will negative at the airport could be having the virus. So we follow them up and we test them. And we didn't get any positive case. For now, if you look at our data, there's no sense. So it's possible that we don't have the Delta. I'm not saying that we have it or not. So that's what we are doing. And clearly, as I said, we have the several system in place to detect at the airport and also at the health facilities. And then we have the contact traces to follow up possible cases. I mean, clearly that's what we do. And what we need to do is to heighten up that awareness. And I'm happy about this report, that it tells you that clearly the virus is not gone. You do not need to look at that as you see the early part of the year. And then people will not going back to wearing the mask. Well, we try to make sure that we get the necessary vaccine to vaccinate. And I want to say that Ghana is not fixated on AstraZeneca or Sputnik. What we have is that we've registered 3 vaccines. There's Sputnik, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson. There's a global challenge about availability of vaccines. And all efforts are being made so we get the right vaccine. But until we get the right numbers and the right number of population immunity, our sure bet is that we protect ourselves.
Away from the health sector, the West Africa Examination Council, WAEC, has questioned a report authored by the Africa Education Watch on the 2020 WASSCE exams, insisting that no questions were leaked to students. The Africa Education Watch alleged last week in a report that WASSCE questions were leaked to students, as well as personal contact details of examiners, which the education think tank said was leaked from WAEC's IT department. But the council, in a news briefing earlier today, said the report from the think tank exposed its ignorance on how it conducts affairs. WAEC says the Africa Education Watch did not engage it prior to putting together their report in order to come to a proper conclusion. Agnes Tekujo is head of public affairs at the council.
Aspects of the methodology that EduWatch used raise issues of credibility and fairness. The council is baffled at the fact that although it is the subject of the report, EduWatch did not engage the council in order to be better informed about what its processes and procedures are before coming to its conclusions and making its recommendations. According to the report, that is on page 3 of the report, the identities of informants are withheld and subject to non-disclosure. The compelling reasons for non-disclosure in research include threats to the security of informants, risk of human rights abuse, and cultural or religious sensitivity. And we ask ourselves, which of these is applicable in the instant case? Why would African Education Watch refuse to disclose the identity of informants and state in its report that the identities of informants are withheld and subject to non-disclosure. During last year's WASI, there were no actual questions that were leaked.
On leakage of the personal contact details of examiners, WAEC insists that although it occurred, it's unfortunate and it has put systems in place to ensure that leakage do not affect the outcome of the results.
The Council, in its press release of August 19, 2020, acknowledged the unfortunate circulation of a yet-to-be-finalized version of an examiner's list for the WAS School 2020 on social media. The said circulated list, unfortunate as it was, did not include the critical information regarding which scripts the examiners would be marking, etc. The Council indicated then that it had initiated investigations into the development and assured the public that steps incorporated in the marking exercises over the years ensured fairness. These steps, which were and have always been rigorously adhered to, are: 1. Swapping of scripts across regions. Scripts were swapped to ensure that scripts originating from a particular region and those from nearby or contiguous regions were not marked in that region. So if you attended a school in the Greater Accra region, your script is not marked here in Accra, neither is it marked at a region close to Accra. So that is the essence of swapping of scripts. And even when we swap the scripts, we don't do it wholesale such that we know that every script of a candidate in Greater Accra is being marked in a particular region. We distribute some of the scripts to one region and another to another region to ensure that nobody can tell where the scripts are being marked.
You're watching News Today with me, Bernice Abubedulan. So let's go back to our earlier story about Ghana being ready to begin clinical trials on 2 separate vaccines. Manuel Kranting is at that ongoing conference between stakeholders and joins me with more. Hello, Manuel. So just let's start off with a bit of clarity here. So the Sputnik Light vaccine is different from the Sputnik V vaccine that we already know is on the market.
Yeah, Bernice, you're absolutely right. The Sputnik Light vaccine is different from the main Sputnik V vaccine. Now, here's the difference. Now, the Sputnik V has actually 2 doses, and then the Sputnik Light has just 1 dose, and so just 1 shot, and then the recipient of the vaccine would not have to return for a second dose, like we know with the Sputnik V, which has a 3-week interval between the first and then the second shot. And so that's essentially the difference. We know that authorities in Russia have been saying that first and second phases of the clinical trials of the Sputnik Light has revealed that indeed it has a slightly lesser efficacy against the various strains that we've seen that the Sputnik V vaccine is efficacious against. So just a little about 10% difference in terms of efficacy. So the Sputnik V has about 90% or more efficacy, while the Sputnik Light has 80% or more. So in terms of contextualizing the sort of difference between the Sputnik Light and Sputnik V, that's what you have.
All right, Manuel. So we've already mentioned that clinical trials are being held in countries like the US, Russia itself, and the United Arab Emirates. Have our health authorities been able to explain, apart from the fact that it gives us advantage when this is on the market, why it's important for Ghana to participate in the trials?
Well, Bernice, you know that the earlier stages of vaccine development that we've seen, and indeed with all the vaccines that are currently on the market, there's a challenge with, vaccine nationalism, and then, of course, with the global shortage that we're seeing because of the upsurge of the cases in India. Now, participating in the development of the vaccine sort of puts you or if you like, gives you an edge over other countries in terms of access to the vaccine. And so you are most likely to see that a country that participates in a vaccine development by way of clinical trials, etc., would be given priority in terms of access to the vaccines when they are purchasing, or even have the vaccines sold to them at, if you like, a discounted cost, and so on and so forth. And that's what you have. And so with our current challenge of accessing the vaccines, this comes in handy to be able to, access the vaccines ourselves as a country, because we are partaking in the development of the vaccine, Bernice.
About earlier concerns that a lot of Africans didn't participate in earlier trials play up in Ghana's decision to participate in this one.
Indeed, Bernice, just about 1.7 million people in Africa have been vaccinated out of the about 1.3 billion people who make up the entire continent. It gives you a picture of how far behind the continent is in terms of inoculation. And this is majorly because of the fact that a lot of African countries did not partake, if you like, resource-wise by contributing to the funding of the development of the vaccine, or even by extension to talk about clinical trials. This we did not see in most parts of Africa, and that's why with the global surge in cases and the controllers, really, for want of better expression, of the vaccines, now playing vaccine nationalism and wanting to inoculate their entire population, or if you like, most of their population before they release it to other countries. That's why you have African countries far behind. And so partaking in the clinical trials of this particular Sputnik Light vaccine, and it's not just Sputnik Light vaccine, you also have the Sanofi vaccine, and partaking in the clinical trials of these vaccines will mean that we'll have an edge over other countries in terms of accessing the vaccines.
Finally, there's a new kid on the block. I'm talking about the Delta variant, and we know that the existing vaccines are said to be resistant to, or the variant is resistant to the current vaccines on the market. What did participants at this conference have to say about these new vaccines, and whether we have any hope of it dealing with emerging variants?
Well, Bernice, it's really a cause for worry when you access the extent of damage that the Delta strain, I'm sure you're referring to, which was originally identified in India, is wreaking across the world. Now, it seemed to have, spread in more countries than one, which is making it very difficult for health authorities here in Ghana even to put a leash on the countries, that are most likely to be transporting the virus. And you remember that about 6 weeks ago, the Ghana Health Service, through government, issued a health and a travel advisory. That travel advisory is currently still in force, except it will not go to do so much, only to give the screeners at the airports, an edge in isolating visitors, if you like, people who are entering the country through our airports, for more stringent evaluation in terms of whether or not they actually are carrying the virus. And so for now, Dr. Franklin Esudubekun just confirmed to me a while ago that we have not been able to realize, or if you like, identify the new strain, I'm talking about the Delta strain, in the community within the larger Ghanaian population. That's not been done yet. It's been screened at the airport, and they are hoping to upscale the checks at the airport so that it does not enter the larger population. For now, though, as the health authorities continue to do the checks at the airport, our only bet is to continue adhering to the safety protocols and making sure that we are doing what the health authorities say we should do to be able to keep ourselves safe up until a definitive response is created and sustained to the Delta strain of the COVID-19 virus.
Right, Manuel, we'll leave it here. My colleague Manuel Cranting joining us from a stakeholders conference to discuss some clinical trials to be held here in Ghana involving 2 vaccines. Away from that, police in Wa are investigating 2 cases, one of alleged assault and the other of sexual harassment involving a 30-year-old man and 3 teachers of the Wa Jamia Islamic Girls Senior High School. The 30-year-old man was arrested for allegedly attempting to rape a student. 3 teachers of the school were subsequently picked up for allegedly assaulting the suspect. The invitation to the Wa police station angered the students, who stormed the police station demanding the release of their teachers. Joining us, Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has been speaking to one of the teachers and the PRO for the Wa police on the matter.
Sexual harassment against or sexual assault against Sharon. We were thinking that the police would have investigated the matter, taking into account the interests of the students, because these are young innocent students that have been brought to school to come and learn. So if a matter has been reported on somebody harassing them sexually, it should have been a matter of interest to the police. But to our dismay, the matter took a twist, and this evening the police invited the staff to come to the police station, and we were made to parade as if we were criminals for that guy, alleged rapist, to identify amongst us who were in the scene when he was arrested. So now everything has turned to be that the staff of Jamia Islamic Girls Senior High School has assaulted the guy, and the police has now shifted the burden of proof. Instead of pursuing the rape case, they are now pursuing assault on the guy. Meanwhile, when the police came to the scene to take over the alleged rapist from us, neighbors testified that the guy was of weird character, that he has been harassing them. He is a thief. For us, and this matter was aired on air. So if the police were to do a diligent work, they should have pursued this matter to the latter and ensure that the truth is ascertained. So we are dismayed that the police had not acted professionally, because in the first place, Jamia Islamic Secondary School is an identified institution. You could deploy your men to the school to come and investigate the matter. Why ask all of us to come here? And look at the way they are managing the matter. Here and there, arresting some of them and putting them behind bars. It's unfortunate, and these are some of the conduct we talk about the police. Police should be professional, even when you realize that the students were misconducting. Masters are here, you invited here, we came here at your instance. Why didn't you invite masters and instruct them to ask the people to go? You are harassing both masters and students. So it's unfortunate. The police authorities should be up and doing and call their men to order. This is not responsible policing. It's very unfortunate that this is happening.
You've seen some of your students being whipped?
Yes, we saw some of them being whipped. As we speak now, 4 of them are under detention. 4 of them, and one of our masters, who is a librarian and teaches French in the school, is also in the cells.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Because that case of moving around the premises and alleged was reported to the DOSU, and that one is being investigated at the DOSU. And this one too, as the man is also alleging that he is sick, and they stepped on the abdomen and other things and assaulted him and tied him. One police went there, we saw it. So that one too is at the regional CID here.
You are saying that you want to use the assault case to cover up?
No. The alleged case, which is with the DOSU, is still pending, and they are investigating that one too. But no, it's never that.
So what message do you have on this issue for the public or the school authorities?
And that's why we want the school authorities to talk to the students, and not even only that school, but other schools. The teachers should talk to the children to educate them on how they should stop attacking the police stations, because after all, we invited them to the police station, and if nothing happens, how can police invite somebody to the police station? So they shouldn't have done that.
But they said that you people also manhandled the students, whipped some of them. That's the accusation.
It's not true. You can go there and see.
Elsewhere, a visual arts student of the Accra Senior High Technical School has allegedly beaten his teacher to pulp for asking him and his colleagues to stop disturbing other students who were writing mock examinations. He's alleged to have also stabbed one of the school's security officers in the chest when he was overpowered by security officials with the intention of handing him over to the police. The security officer is currently receiving treatment at the Etua Government Hospital. Now, this is an account of a teacher in the school which is located in Udumase Krobo. He pleaded anonymity when Joy News contacted the school to verify the incident. Now to some other stories. The Ghana Maritime Authority is seeking to safeguard the country's waters as a means of harnessing international business. The authority believes safe water will also boost investor confidence in the country's maritime trade. This came up at the 100th celebration of the World Hydrography Day program, which brought together stakeholders in the industry to deliberate on how best to secure the country's waters. Hannah Odami has more in the following report.
Without hydrography, maritime transportation will be chaotic and sea fishing will be impossible. That is why every country must have adequate data on its seafloor. That information will aid adequate carting of vessels, protect marine transportation, and aid construction of ports as well as landing sites.
It will boost maritime trade in that mariners from elsewhere, foreign, they have confidence in your water. They know that your data is up to scratch. That alone puts off, because the shipping industry requires efficiency. So if your data is not up to date, then they would have to cut back on even the cargo they carry. Their routes can tend to be longer because they probably do not trust, moving elsewhere in the world. So basically, it builds the confidence in our space.
But this can be done if countries and organizations collaborate and share data.
Every human activity conducted in, on, or under the seas depends on knowing the topography of the sea floor and the insight into the tides and currents of the seas. Despite this, many parts of the world's seas, oceans, and coastal waters remain unsurveyed. This has a major impact on the effective management, sustainable exploitation, and well-informed policing of the seas and the oceans.
Transport Minister assured of government's commitment of putting in place mechanisms which will build the country's hydrographic capacity.
We must acknowledge the enormity of the task and equally be motivated by the overwhelming benefit we stand to gain through the availability of relevant hydrographic data for the emerging blue economy.
For Joy News, I am Hannah Odami.
Thank you so much for staying here on Joy News today with me, Bernice Abubeidu-Lansa. Up next is business news. Do stay.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee has reiterated the call for a national development plan to guide the usage of oil revenues for development projects. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Technical Manager of PIAC, Mark Ajiman, said a well-coordinated long-term policy framework will ensure that citizens enjoy the economic benefits of oil revenue.
The project is there, but then the project is for the Regional Feeder Roads Department. When we were entering that, we saw the project, but because there was no signboard labeling that this project is funded from petroleum revenue, you can identify the project as such. So, clear, visible identification of projects, whether through signage, whether through forum, whether through any other means, for people to know that these projects are funded from oil money. Will be welcoming going forward. And also, we have stated in our 2020 annual report that the default position of the PRMA is for the state to spend petroleum revenue through a long-term national development plan. Now, because the law is developmental in orientation, it gives 12 areas that in the absence or while we are putting together a long-term national development plan, we should select up to 4 areas from a list of 12 and spend petroleum revenues through for a medium term, that's the 3-year period. But if you carefully look at the priority areas, the 12 priority areas, more or less, it panders to political party manifesto. Yeah, instead of what a long-term national development plan will have done, because a long-term national development plan, almost every political party will couch its manifesto around that long-term national development plan. So that's why we at PIAC, we are calling for a long-term national development plan. We should go back to the basics as the law envisaged, and then have a long-term national development plan in place that will guide the spending of petroleum revenue. Probably if we do that, the narrative will change 10 years from now as to the reason why citizens are not seeing the economic benefits or the economic impact of petroleum revenue after 10 years of production and managing its revenue. The plan from the outset should be owned by the citizens. It shouldn't be owned by a government or political parties. It should be owned by the citizens. And in that, I mean that even the composition of the committee that will oversee the drafting and putting together this long-term development should be impartial in nature. It should be, the membership of the constitution should be the broad spectrum of the Ghanaian society. There can be political party representation, but there should also be the ordinary citizen representation on that committee. There should be consensus building. Yes, there will be compromises here and there. But then if we do this, if we adopt this approach, no political party will come to power and see the long-term development plan as the product of a certain political region, because it will have been the vehicle that will have carried the production of the long-term development plan will have passengers from all broad spectrum of the Ghanaian society. That is the way forward.
Now, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is intensifying its modernization drive for the sector through all 5 colleges of agriculture across the country. Chief Director at the Ministry, Robert Ahinkwa, says developing technical education is critical to achieving Ghana's agric modernization objectives. He spoke to Love Business at a handing over event for facility facelift at Kwadaso College of Agriculture in Kumasi. Prince Pia reports.
Led by the Chief Director at the Ministry of Agriculture, the team inspected facilities at the Kwadaso College of Agriculture. The exercise is part of upgrading activities in all the agriculture colleges across the country. It is under the bigger modernization agriculture project funded by the Canadian High Commission. Robert Ahinkwa is Chief Director at the Ministry.
We believe that the training institutions are very key in all this. Okay, they require, very conducive and modernized environment so that teaching of agriculture, will be the best that we expect of it, and also to be very attractive to the students. And so to go along with it, the labs, the home science department and all that are benefiting from this. The structures have been like this for some time, and it is appropriate that we modernize these structures, so that we can get the best.
A contractor has been engaged to start the rehabilitation of the science laboratory and the home science department of both the Kwadaso and Ohawo colleges of agriculture in the Ashanti and Volta regions respectively. Reverend Benjamin Asante Mensah is principal of the Kwadaso Agriculture College.
We have the mandate of training these youngsters to be at the forefront of the agricultural revolution. And we know that we are in a global village, and so we must always be abreast with current trends and be able to relate globally. And so this equipment that we've received will go a long way to enhance our teaching and learning.
The initiative is part of the Technical Education Development for Modernizing Agriculture Ghana project. Mauli Asigbe is director at the University of Missouri Assistance Program UMAP and lead for the TEDMAC project.
Looking forward to a change or an upliftment in the level of education, the level of exposure, the experience that students will gain from this new infrastructure and also from the revised curriculum. That way their learning outcomes will be improved. We are looking forward to them having new experiences that are relevant to facilitating a market-oriented agriculture in the country, so that they are not only coming out with classroom knowledge, but also having experiences that will even enable them to go into practical agriculture as well.
The TEDMAC project is a consortium of University of Missouri in the US, University of Missouri Assistance Program in Ghana, and University of Saskatchewan. The 4-year project, worth $50 million Canadian dollars, is in its last lap. Prince Apia reporting.
All right, and there's more coming up on the marketplace at the top of the hour. Up next, sports, we have news on an alleged impasse between Kotoko and the GFA. Well, Muftau has got the details right after this break.
Hello, good afternoon. Time now for sports on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Let's start with Kumasi Asante Kotoko, where their Chief Executive Officer, Nanaya Amponsa, has dispelled reports that they have impasse between them and the Ghana Football Association has led to what many say a frustrating relationship between the two institutions. According to him, they are not competitors with the football governing body and cannot be involved in an impasse with the regulators of football in the country. However, he insists that football in Ghana has become so political. The Ghana Football Association and Asante Kotoko have engaged in public spat over the last couple of months. This has led to a perception created within the Ghanaian media and the football community that the football governing body and the Porcupine Warriors have got some issues. Chief Executive Officer of Asante Kotoko, Nanaya Amponsa, dispelled those rumors, insisting they are not competitors with the Ghana Football Association.
Kotoko should not have any issues with GFA because we are not in competition with the GFA. I state here now that we are not in competition with the GFA. The GFA is a regulator and we are a club that should be regulated by the GFA just like any other club. There should be no competition at all, and therefore we feel where we are not happy with maybe some decisions of the GFA, for instance, the video camera incident where GFA tried to stop us from using video, just a different camera. That is a photo will be used to Samsung photo, no be used to iPhone. Now, I say iPhone, they mean used for photo. That's where we had a challenge. And I think there were some exchanges of letters. Some found its way into the media. But that was resolved amicably. There are no many issues here. If Kotoko is functioning well, Kotoko is doing well, then the GFA is doing well because we are one of the members. Kotoko's success should be the success of the GFA.
Many have alleged that Nanaya Amponsa harbors the intent of contesting for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association come 2023. Mr. Amponsa says the politics surrounding the football in the country is currently at its apex, which is alien to the game of football.
There will be situations where you say because Nanaya Amponsa contested for FA elections, and so some people believe that our ambition have been, listen. Growing up and seeing Ghana football, it was not such political. And I wish it remains like that. The football fraternity brings us together. Football binds this nation together. Even when politics divides us, it's football that brings us together. When Ghana qualifies for World Cup, or if anything good happens with our football, it brings us together. So I will entreat all involved, say, my football is so polarized, so political. It makes it not to be interesting.
Kotoko's issues with the Ghana FA started in November last year when the Porcupines wanted to use a video camera to record their matches, a move which was rejected by the Ghana FA. The record Premier League champions wrote to the FA insisting if they are not permitted to use their video camera, then they will have to request for their right to see the contract agreed between the GFA and broadcast rights holders of the Premier League, StarTimes. A consultative meeting was held to iron out the differences that existed between the two parties.
Good
Good afternoon. Let's settle for some showbiz news here on Joy News Today. Now, Ghanaian comedian Funny Face has revealed he's about to father another set of twins in his latest interview on Daybreak Hit show on Hit FM Monday. According to him, during his time of depression and loneliness, he had a lady who took care of him, and their relationship eventually resulted in a pregnancy.
By now I'm expecting twins. Let me give you
another twins.
Yeah, another twins.
Another set of twins.
Two boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not with Vanessa. Yeah. It was when the thing was going through, one girl who felt say she wants to be there for me and everything. So she was there for me, I was there for her until she bent down to pick something. And I also stand behind her and we both pick it, and now there are two boys coming. See the surprise on Andy's face. For come on, to name. You still.
No, wait. So you're pregnant with another woman?
I'm pregnant. Am I a girl? See, Andy.
No, it's because you. It's because
Andy, are you okay?
It's because you are confusing him. No, wait. So another woman is pregnant for you?
Yeah, two boys.
Twin. Wow.
Twins, yeah. I have twins, two girls, one girl. Hey, like, tell me, man and Kolane, yeah. What's a nice guy?
What?
You let me handle you. Your life will never be the same.
Much Becky, but there's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Do visit our Facebook page. Also, we are Joy News on TV. Really appreciate your company. Do stay with us. We are home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Up next is the Marketplace with Darryl Kwao. Do stay.